Good morning. You can have a seat. Welcome to today's gathering. How are you all feeling? Yes? Thumbs? Let's see it. Let's see the dial. Where are you at? Nice and high. Let me see you. Well, I mean, if you can do it here so I can see, but whatever you want. Everyone, let's see it. I just want to get a feel for where we're at. Okay. Actually, maybe even better than yesterday's group. Okay, that's good. That's good. Okay, I always really look forward to when we have the opportunity to listen to one of our students present. And so today is one of those opportunities. I guess earlier in the month, I spoke about motivation and discipline. Do you remember about that? Remember that? Right? And that discipline is something that we need to carry us through. So when the motivation starts to fade, right, the discipline has to come in and help us through so that we can achieve our goals. Today we're going to continue to hear about motivation, but in a different context. And that's where, more about where motivation often comes at the beginning and why we are sort of been trained to think in this way or to be motivated in this way. So sometimes we're motivated by things outside of us. So that's like praise, rewards, grades, recognition, or avoiding consequences. How many of you sometimes are motivated by that? Raise your hand. By wanting to get good grades for no other reason, just to get good grades. So you want to do well on a test. How about for rewards? You might get paid. You might get praise. Raise your hand if that's something. Come on. None of you. Yeah, thank you. Okay. How about for recognition? Does recognition appeal to you? Is that something that's important? Raise your hand if that's important to you. Okay. All right. So we can relate to this to some degree. And it can be powerful. Extrinsic motivation can be very powerful. It gets us started and it helps push us through and reminds us that sometimes our efforts can be rewarded. So there's another kind of motivation, and that is intrinsic motivation. It runs much deeper. That's when we do something because it matters to us personally and it aligns with our values, our sense of purpose, and the kind of person we want to become. This is the motivation that lasts when no one is watching, because you're doing it because you want to, and there's no reward waiting, and when things get hard. So today, Ethan is going to explore this idea further and help us think about how both kinds of motivation shows up in our lives and how we can understand the difference to help us grow. So please welcome Ethan.
Thank you, Ms. Powell, for such a lovely intro. As was said, I'm here today to talk to you guys about motivation. But more important than that, I'm here to share my own journey when it comes to learning about what I've let motivate me over my life and some key takeaways for this. And I thought it might help some of you. I just want to give one heads up. My context is mainly for sports and academics, but the things I will be talking about today will encompass far more than that. It'll encompass your life, because motivation, at the base of it, it is what drives us to do anything. And so make it fit as you will. So let's begin. What is motivation? Motivation is the internal and external driving force that drives our behavior. It is motivation initiates, guides, and sustains our actions. Simply, it is why we do anything. There are two main types: intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. Intrinsic motivation comes from within. It's driven by this pure enjoyment or satisfaction of purely wanting to do the task. Some examples of this could be playing a sport because you love it, learning something new because you want to gain knowledge, or playing or practicing because you just want to get better. Some key parts of intrinsic motivation is autonomy, feeling that you are in control; mastery, wanting to improve and get better; and purpose, feeling that what you do matters. Some key points to intrinsic motivation is it acts like a slow burn. It takes a lot longer to develop than extrinsic motivation and doesn't give you an immediate impact. But once it does, it is long-lasting and reliable. That brings me to extrinsic motivation. Extrinsic motivation is all about what is happening externally. You're doing something not because you want to do it, it's because you want to see the reward after it. Some common factors of this are money, praise or approval, fame or recognition, and grades or scores. Extrinsic motivation works in the short term and can quickly give us a lot of motivation in a short amount of time. However, it can reduce or kill enjoyment if it's overused And once the motivator is removed, it doesn't work anymore. I like to think about a job. I'm not going to work for you if you're not going to pay me. Some key takeaways for this: it's useful for a quick result, but it's not that great in the long term. So I started asking myself, why does extrinsic motivation feel so much more common to me? And I hope that I would think that most of you can all agree with that. Extrinsic motivation is what our society readily uses to motivate ourselves. And we grow up with it. As kids, we learn to shape our behavior based on our adults' responses. We do well, adults are happy, that's our reward. This is how schools work, this is how competition works, this is how scores work. So it feels very, very common. And so I started to think about this when I was thinking about my own journey with motivation. And so to understand my own journey with motivation, we need to go back in time a couple years. That's right. This is me and my sister. My sister is 2 years older than me, and she graduated from here 2 years ago. Her name's Jade. For any of you who might have known her, my sister is very academically and physically skilled with pretty much anything. And although this is not as much of an issue as it is for me back then, or now, back then it was a massive issue. I'm not sure if, most of you probably don't know this, I have an IEP, I'm dyslexic, so I've struggled with reading my whole life. So while I was struggling to piece together letters, my sister was reading full-page books and writing about them, which obviously you can tell irritated me. And so I set my standard of worth based on if I could do something as good or better than my sister. So my life turned into competition, naturally. If I could beat my sister in something, that meant that I was good enough and I was good at it. And if I could beat her, that would be even better. So this drove me, when I was younger, to pursue competition at whatever cost necessary. At the dinner table, we couldn't have a full meal without me bringing up why I thought I was better in some regard, which you can obviously think put some strain on me and my sister's relationship. So now that we've understand what my history is and that I have this need to win and need for approval, let's start talking about my actual journey here. So my classmates who know me might have known in grade 7, 8, and 9, I was highly competitive. I was cocky, I was arrogant, and to be honest, I was rude. And I didn't really understand this until grade 10. When I started to do some reflection, and a close friend of mine told me that I actually don't like to be around you when you're acting like this. And that kind of shook me, because I was thinking, I'm just here to win, and if you like to lose, you don't have to spend time with me. But I realized that I was competition within a competition setting, a place where I could go and someone else would agree and we would compete. But I was also competitive outside of this, when I was trying to spend time with family, when I was trying to spend time with friends. And that's a place where competition doesn't need to happen, because I don't need to prove myself. I don't need to beat you to have valuable time spent with someone else. And so I realized this in grade 10, and I began reflecting on my roots of what was actually driving me and what was making me so hyper-competitive. And I realized that I didn't like to win. I was actually afraid of losing. And which might not sound different to you, but there are, and there's a few key differences. And so losing made me feel like I was less than or not good enough. And so any time that I was put in a situation where I thought I was going to lose, I needed to get myself out of it. And at the root of all that is fear. And why is fear such a powerful motivator? Because I did see results. My grades shot up. I was a well-recognized athlete. I was doing well, and I had friends. But it wasn't healthy and it wasn't sustainable. And fear is such a powerful motivator, because this is what our humans need to survive. If we go back a couple hundred years, it's wired into us. I need food. I'm fearful that I'm going to starve. I'm going to go get it. Even now, for example, having some nerves before this, I was fearful because I need acceptance, because humans are social creatures. And so learning that fear motivated me really surprised me, because I also realized that fear is only useful in short bursts. It was harming me, and fear-based motivation eroded my own self-esteem and the relationships around me. So, next slide. What I realized is fear fuels the mindset of playing not to lose, and I really like the sports analogy for this. Playing not to lose, it caused me to, anytime I thought about competition, it triggered anxiety within me, because all I could think about was I need to do well and I need to prove myself. So that's what competition was for me. It was emotionally and mentally exhausting, and I felt like I was going to burn out. And within that, it made me harder to coach because I didn't really care about what other people had to say. As long as I could be good enough and as long as I could prove myself, it didn't really matter how I played as long as I got to that point. So after realizing all of this in grade 10, I kind of came to this realization of like playing to not lose isn't healthy and I shouldn't let fear motivate me anymore. And so I decided to do this big flip, and I decided to switch my mindset of I'm going to play to win, which when you think about it is a better mindset to have. It's positive, it's lighter on yourself, and it's healthier. This was more sustainable over the long run, and it worked for quite a while. It helped me focus on usually I would set a single positive goal, like I want to play better in this regard, I want to win. And I found it worked really, really well at a high stakes situation because it helped me laser focus on this one task, winning, and what I needed to do to win. And it built resilience within me, but I still found it had its limitations because I can't really control if I'm going to win or lose like that much, team sport. And so I found losing could still be really devastating for me. And so this year I started to do some more reflection, and I was thinking about what can I do to make it so no matter the outcome, I can be self-satisfied. And then I learned about playing to play. And so I learned this from a man named Jason Dorland, who was a Olympic level rower, who ended up going to the finals. Canada was seeded first. There was a 15-minute extension before the competition happened. He kind of had a bit of a mental break before that. And they ended up losing the race, coming in last, and this destroyed him. And he had the mindset of playing to win before. And so I really saw the limitations when he explained this to me. And he introduced this version of playing to play. And so what is playing to play? Playing to play is playing it to develop your own skills, to get better at it, and to be part of something. And like you might think, intrinsic motivation. And so what this means and what are the benefits that I've seen from playing to play? I found myself when I wasn't so focused on what's happening around me, I could focus on myself and I could focus inwardly. I could enter this thing called flow state where time didn't really seem to move as it usually would. I was just here in this moment, not really caring about what was happening around me. And this allowed me to do a lot of things. Being in this state meant the outcome didn't matter to me, and I was willing to take more risks and mistakes, because as long as I was here, I wasn't worried about what was behind me or what was in front of me. It allowed me to focus on skills and goals and really think about them within the game. And weirdly enough, winning became a byproduct. I found myself far more successful when I was playing to play than if I was playing to not lose or I was playing to win. And so what this all boils down to, and back to intrinsic motivation, is mastery. And so mastery is that internal physiological drive to persistently engage with and master challenging tasks, focusing on the process of improvement rather than just the outcome. And so when I had this big mindset switch, I found that I was happier within myself. I found that I wasn't as stressed. I found that my relationships were growing. And I found out within this, and this was, I think, another byproduct, that the only thing I can control in my life is myself. And that applies to all of you, and I'm sorry if you haven't realized that yet. The only thing in this world that you can control is yourself. No matter how hard you try, you'll never be able to control your opponent. You'll never be able to control the circumstance. So what's the point of letting external factors that you have no say over dictate how you show up and how you act? And this, I think, was the biggest realization for me. And when I had that flip, I saw wonderful things occurred. So mastery mindset focuses on self-improvement and not just the outcome. And this really gave me a big reality check. And so I'm going to ask you now, I want you to think about what motivates you and a little bit of reflection. Intrinsic motivation, extrinsic motivation. Is it fear? And at the root of that, I want you to think about why you let it motivate you. And so I want you to think about the activities that you participate in and ask yourself, what motivates me and how could playing to play and mastery impact my life? And the last thing I want to say is no matter what you do and no matter what you think, focus on what you can control, your effort, your growth, and your mindset, and I promise you the rest will follow. Thank you.
Yesterday, after Ethan spoke, I just told the group, like, let's hire him, motivational speaker. He should go on tour. So thank you again for doing such an outstanding job. And now the second time listening it through, there's so many things that I could relate to. My husband was also an Olympic rower. He was a 2-time world champion going into the Olympics. And exactly what happened to Jason Dorland, but just several years later, they were expected to win, and they came in 6th. Or 5th, I think. And to this day, he can't even talk about it, and that was in 2004, right? So I just wonder if some of these, like, Olympic athletes are wired differently, for sure. They really don't want to lose, and they absolutely want to win. But I wonder if some of this work is done around more of that intrinsic motivation, what drives you, and learning how to deal with some of the failures along the way, that these guys could have handled it better, because that loss absolutely destroyed him for many, many years. It took a long time to get over. Anyway, so there was that, and then the whole mastery piece too. I remember at the beginning of the year when I was doing some work with all of our staff, we talked about personal mastery, and that's like understanding where you currently are and thinking about where you want to be, and just striving to do things to get there because it's what you want for yourself, right? And you don't actually achieve it, but you're always striving for it. So thank you for such a great presentation and giving us so much to think about. And now.
I just wanted to thank Ethan again for today. It was, I was really quite moved listening to that for the first time yesterday. It's not often you have someone who's able to come up and be as articulate as that, to recognize perhaps some flaws in the way that of their thinking in the past, what they've gained through learning about changing the way they think, and share that journey as explicitly as he did, and hopefully in a way that you were able to engage with, and that you can then think about, and that you can then decide, okay, which parts of that can I use? How can I shift my mindset in this area so that I can feel fulfilled, and so that I can potentially remove stresses in my life that I don't need to have there. I've already done what I didn't really want to do, or what I deliberately didn't do yesterday. I don't want to add to it in any way, shape, or form. I just would like to leave you with it so that you can think on it. Yesterday there was, and I felt it today a bit, there was like, once Ethan finished speaking, there was like a 2 or 3 second pause, and then like there was a collective breathing out in the chapel, because everyone was so honed in on and clued into what he was saying. And it was a really, really special presentation, and I think it resonated with a lot of people. So hopefully that's the case with you as well. And again, Ethan, like, really special contribution. Thank you so much. And hopefully that will inspire others as well to share elements of your personal story that are significant for you. And sometimes we don't realize how significant they can be for other people too. So yeah, that's, we'll see. More to come, I'm sure, from many of you in the community. But again, maybe just join me in giving Ethan another round of applause. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
Oh, okay.